She was the only person other than my childhood best friend Liam who I felt comfortable sharing my personal stuff with. Me and Liam went everywhere together, and slowly me and Autumn got closer and closer, and one day we just started dating. At that point in life, she didn't have one flaw in her, which was a bit scary because it meant that she was hiding something. But we had been friends for so long that I believed I would have found something if she was hiding it. Indeed, a few years later, we got married and I moved in with her. Also, for anybody wondering, Liam is still my best friend and is also married and lives close by, so my friendships do last. Anyways, coming back to the point, a few months after we got married, I started noticing that Autumn was actually a very suspicious person. She didn't try to hide it, and when I questioned it, she told me directly that she felt insecure, and since I traveled a lot, it really scared her that somebody was going to take me from her. Now, I'm not going to lie, it's kind of annoying to have a suspicious and paranoid wife, but it's also very endearing. The way I look at it is she cannot bear to live with me for even a minute, and that's why she wants to know where I am and what I'm doing at all times. I'll not say that it's easy because, like I already said, it gets really annoying at times to the point where we have a fight because I did not pick her call up when she got mad at me. But as long as you remember it's done out of love, you can easily have a good relationship. But the person who's in my place needs to be very patient, otherwise, it's simply not going to work. I genuinely think if it were anyone else, this marriage might not have lasted, so I sometimes joke with my wife that she is very lucky to have me, and she agrees. So that's how my life normally goes. I leave for work, they tell me where I'm traveling this week and how many days, and I tell my wife, and she gets fake mad, and I make her laugh. But this week was different. See, a few days ago, I found out that I was going to have to travel quite far for a client meeting, so obviously Autumn was not happy that I was leaving for 2 days. When she gets mad, she acts like a baby, and I have to try very hard to convince her. She knows that I have to go and does this because she knows I find it fun when I have to convince her. So after promising to take her to her favorite place for dinner, she finally agreed, and we had a fun day. The next day, I left, and later that evening, I had the meeting and checked into my hotel. The next day, while I was preparing to leave, a coworker who had attended the meeting with me called me to tell me that his ring was missing and he was worried he dropped it in my car. He was from the nearby branch, so he had gone back to work, and I told him that I was going to check and get back to him. So I stopped at a gas station and started looking at every nook and cranny to find it. While I didn't find the ring, which the coworker later explained was dropped somewhere else, I did find something very, very interesting, guys. Under a place where I would have never looked unless I was searching for a very tiny object, I found a very small device that looks suspiciously like a tracker. You know the ones that give you the exact location of the person at all times? Yeah, those. Well, I was guessing at first because it could not be anything else, and even though I was very deep below the seat, it could not have been dropped. It was very placed and secured, which really surprised me. Now, I would understand if I were a person of any importance or anything, but I'm not. My company always knows where I am because I go there to the company's work, so there's no reason to track me. And my wife knows where I am at all times, so she doesn't have a reason either. And other than those two, no one has access to my car. Okay, Liam does, but he has even less of a reason to do something like this. So I looked up what it was to just be sure, and it was definitely a tracker. After the initial surprise, the tracker really scared me because why would anyone want to track where I was? Since I knew it could not be anyone close to me, it felt like the tracker was placed by someone who wanted to harm me, my family, or my company, or do something equally bad. I know it sounds kind of stupid to assume a thing like that, but can you blame me? A tracker is not a normal thing to place on someone. After it scared me, I thought the best thing to do would be to trick the person tracking me, so I put the tracker on a cargo truck nearby that was going to Canada. Since I was scared of something happening, I decided not to return home and go back to the hotel for a day. My thinking was that if I was in some sort of immediate danger, I would be dragging my wife into it by going home. So I told the company I had some problems and would only return tomorrow, and told my wife that I had some extra work. Well, then I drove around for a while to check if I was being followed by anyone. I used everything I had seen people do in a movie situation like this because I've never thought I would ever go through something like it. After a while, I was sure that nobody was following me, so I went to the hotel to think. The most unbelievable part of all this was it was somebody I didn't even know. How did they place the tracker? Then my car is not touched by anyone else but me, my wife, and my best friend, and my wife is the one who cleans it always. She does it because she loves to clean, so it was clear to me it was not possible to do so without one of us simply finding out, you know? As I was thinking, my wife called me to ask me where I was. Oh, that was very weird because I already texted her obviously, and even though she was paranoid normally, she would simply understand. But guys, out of nowhere, she starts doubting me, saying that I'm a liar and kept asking where I was going. I found this to be very weird considering I had just thrown out a tracking chip. See, I had shown her on a video call that I was still in the hotel, and only then did she kind of believe me. Now, this made me really suspicious of her because it's a possibility that her suspicion towards me drove her to put a tracking chip in the car, and she is the only person I think that could successfully do it without me noticing. But on the other hand, it's also one of the most absurd things.